On July 1st, 2006, a television camera caught Cristiano Ronaldo doing something that made half of England want to physically harm him. He had just pressured a referee into sending off his own Manchester United teammate at a World Cup quarterfinal. And as Wayne Rooney walked off the pitch, Ronaldo turned to the Portugal bench and winked. But this same man, one of the most ruthless competitors the sport has ever seen, broke down completely on camera when someone showed him a video of his late father talking proudly about him.
I never saw the video.
If that wink had been a mistake, he would have apologized, but he never did. And that is exactly the point. Because behind every trophy, every record, and every moment of cold-blooded ruthlessness, there is a story most people have never heard, and it is darker than anything on the highlights reel. The wink. Ronaldo was just 21 on July 1st, 2006, playing in the biggest tournament in the world against a teammate from Manchester United, Wayne Rooney, one of the best players in England's celebrated golden generation. Two men who shared a dressing room every week. Not that afternoon. The incident happened in the 61st minute. Rooney went in heavily on Ricardo Carvalho and appeared to stamp on him. Ronaldo rushed to the referee, pressuring him, gesturing, demanding the red card. The referee showed it. And as Rooney began the long walk to the dressing room, the camera caught Ronaldo winking at the Portugal bench. That single image became one of the most infamous moments in football history. Tabloid front pages across England ran it under headlines about betrayal. Alan Shearer said on live television he would not have been surprised if Rooney went back to the United training ground and physically attacked Ronaldo. Steven Gerrard wrote in his autobiography that the wink was a disgrace and told Rooney that if one of his own Liverpool teammates had done the same thing to him, he would never have spoken to them again. Peter Crouch, on the England bus after the game, described it as the most somber atmosphere he had ever witnessed on a team coach. Rooney was devastated, fuming, and initially said he was never going to speak to Ronaldo again. The English public turned on Ronaldo with a ferocity that shocked even him. He later admitted he was genuinely afraid to return to Manchester United that preseason. He thought people were going to boo him in every stadium in England. But here is the full truth of what happened, because the wink alone does not tell it. Rooney himself has since spoken clearly. He said that in the first half of that same game, before the stamp incident, he had been deliberately trying to get Ronaldo booked for diving. That if he could have gotten Ronaldo sent off, he would have without hesitation. That once the game was over and they were back at United, the whole thing was done. He spoke to Ronaldo in the tunnel immediately after the final whistle, wished him luck for the semi-final, and told him there was no issue. And the result of that supposed betrayal? The following season, Rooney and Ronaldo formed one of the most devastating attacking partnerships in United's history. They won the Premier League title together, then the Champions League in 2008. The wink became just another story in one of the great footballing partnerships of their generation. But the wink was never really about Rooney. It was about what Ronaldo is capable of when winning is on the line. He will do what it takes. He always has. That quality is the foundation of everything he achieved. To understand where it came from, you have to go back much further than 2006. The heart that almost stopped everything. In 2000, a 15-year-old boy was sitting in a hospital in Lisbon, being told his career might already be over. Cristiano Ronaldo had been at Sporting Lisbon's academy for 2 years. He had left his home on the island of Madeira at 12, moving to the Portuguese capital alone, separated from his family, to pursue the only thing he had ever cared about. He was already the most talked about young talent at the club. But something was wrong. His heart would race out of control even when he was sitting completely still. Not after training, not after sprinting, while resting, while sleeping. Doctors diagnosed him with tachycardia, a condition where the heart beats at over 100 times per minute without provocation. Left untreated, it carried a risk of heart failure. For a professional athlete, it was potentially career-ending. For a 15-year-old boy, with nothing else in his life, it was everything. If the condition had gone untreated, or if the surgery had failed, there would be no Ballon d'Ors, no Champions League titles, no 900 goals, no number 7 shirt at Manchester United or Real Madrid. No GOAT debate. The entire story ends in a Lisbon hospital in 2000 before it ever properly begins. The surgery used a laser to cauterize the irregular areas of his heart responsible for the erratic beats. It started in the morning and finished by the end of the afternoon. His mother, Dolores Aveiro, later described the family's fear during those hours. She said there had been a real possibility of him giving up football entirely. She admitted she had been far more scared than he was. Because Ronaldo was not scared. His mother described it plainly. He was not very worried. He did not take the situation very seriously. Within a few days of the surgery, he was back in training, back on the pitch, back doing the only thing he had ever known how to do. His mother later said it seemed the treatment had allowed him to run even faster. A 15-year-old boy has open heart surgery, spends a few days recovering, and goes straight back onto the training pitch as if nothing happened. Not because he was fearless, but because for Ronaldo, stopping was simply not a concept he had any relationship with. But if that chapter reveals his obsession, the next one reveals where it came from. The father he never really knew. José Diniz Aveiro was a soldier who went to war in Africa and came back broken. In the early 1970s, Portugal was still fighting to maintain control of its African colonies. Angola was one of them. Ronaldo's father was conscripted and shipped out in September 1974, part of an army fighting a war nobody back home believed in. His unit was stationed in a remote area near the Zambian border. The heat was savage. The conditions were brutal. The food ran out regularly. His friends later recalled that their main source of nutrition was beer because the river water was too contaminated to drink. They drank to survive, and some of them never stopped drinking when they got home. José Diniz Aveiro came back from Angola changed. He found whatever work he could, eventually becoming the kit man for Andorinha, a small local football club in Madeira, the same club where his young son Cristiano was developing his skills. He got the job because his son played there. But the job did not pay enough, and the drink had him. He was often seen sitting in the small club bar for hours while his son trained outside. His teammates at Andorinha used to taunt the young Cristiano about his father's position, about the fact that his dad cleaned the dressing rooms and washed the kits. Those boys thought they were just being cruel in the way boys are cruel. What they actually did was hand Ronaldo his fuel. Every taunt, every sneer, every reminder of where he came from became another brick in the wall of obsession he was building around himself. Ronaldo has spoken about his father with a complicated mixture of love and grief. In a 2019 interview with Piers Morgan, he said something that cuts right to the heart of it. He said he never really knew his father 100%, that his father was a drunk person, that he had never spoken to him like a normal conversation, and then the line that explains everything about what Ronaldo spent the rest of his career trying to do. He said, to be the number one and he don't see nothing, and he don't see to receive awards, to see what I became. When José Diniz Aveiro's liver finally gave out, it happened in London. Ronaldo had brought him to England for medical treatment, paying for everything, doing everything a son with money and resources could do to keep his father alive. Portugal manager Felipe Scolari was the one who broke the news to Ronaldo personally. He later said nobody in the Portugal camp knew how to tell him, and nobody wanted to. Scolari said he did it because he knew what it was like to lose a parent. September 6, 2005. José Diniz Aveiro died in London, aged 52, his body destroyed by decades of alcohol. Ronaldo was 20 years old in his second season at Manchester United. The following day, Portugal played Russia in a World Cup qualifier. Ronaldo played. He always played. His father died without ever seeing him win a Ballon d'Or, without seeing him at Real Madrid, without seeing any of it. He died when his son was, by Ronaldo's own extraordinary standards, just getting started. Ronaldo keeps a framed portrait of his father at home. He swore never to drink alcohol or smoke, and never has. He looked at what substances did to the people he loved and decided the obsession that would define his life would be football. The empire built on shell companies.
Cristiano, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo te sientes? How are you, Cristiano? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo te sientes?
The paparazzi out in force outside a courthouse in Madrid just a couple of hours ago.
By 2014, Cristiano Ronaldo was the most recognized athlete on the planet. 3 Ballon d'Ors, the most expensive footballer in history, multiple Champions League finals, La Liga titles, hundreds of millions of euros in salary and endorsements. And behind it all, a network of shell companies in the British Virgin Islands, quietly routing his image rights income away from the Spanish tax authorities. Spanish prosecutors began investigating Ronaldo in 2015. By 2017, they had built their case. He was accused of 4 counts of tax fraud from 2011 to 2014, involving 14.7 million euros in income from image rights channeled through a company called Ballon Management, registered in the British Virgin Islands. The structure was straightforward. Ronaldo signed over his image rights to Ballon. Ballon collected the income. Ballon paid almost nothing in tax. The money went to Ronaldo. He declared only 11.5 million euros in Spanish-related income from 2011 to 2014, during a period when his actual earnings in Spain were close to 43 million euros. The gap was not a rounding error. It was a system, and it had been running for years. When prosecutors confronted him in 2017, Ronaldo testified in court and strongly rejected any wrongdoing. He said he felt victimized by the Spanish authorities. He also later suggested the investigation played a significant role in his decision to leave Real Madrid in 2018 after 9 seasons and 4 Champions League titles. The plea deal came in January 2019, by which point he had already moved to Juventus. He appeared at a Madrid courthouse in a black suit, walked past hundreds of journalists, signed a few autographs, and spent 45 minutes inside signing the agreement. 2-year suspended sentence. 18.8 million euros in fines, no prison time. He walked out of the courthouse, stopped to sign more autographs, said 2 words to the journalist waiting, "It is done," and drove away. He had told the world for years that hard work and dedication were the only currency that mattered. And simultaneously, at the peak of those years of supposed sacrifice, the money that hard work generated was being quietly hidden in the Caribbean to avoid paying half of it to the country hosting him. The sentence was suspended. The fine was paid. Ronaldo kept scoring goals. The interview that ended European football, November 14th, 2022. Manchester United had just beaten Fulham 2-1 with a late winner from 18-year-old Alejandro Garnacho. The club was finally showing signs of improvement. The World Cup was 4 days away, and Cristiano Ronaldo had just given Piers Morgan the most explosive interview in the history of football. For 90 minutes on Talk TV, Ronaldo systematically detonated every relationship he had at Manchester United. He said he felt betrayed by the club. He said he had no respect for manager Erik ten Hag because ten Hag had no respect for him. He said the club had made 0 progress since Sir Alex Ferguson retired in 2013. He called interim manager Ralf Rangnick not even a coach, said he had never heard of him, and called it a ridiculous decision to bring him to a club of United's stature. He attacked former teammates who had criticized him publicly, including Wayne Rooney, suggesting Rooney was motivated by jealousy. 6 days after the interview aired, Manchester United terminated his contract by mutual consent. Hours earlier, workmen had been photographed removing a large mural of Ronaldo from the wall outside Old Trafford. Someone at the club had known what was coming. Ronaldo had assumed the interview would force United's hand and create conditions for a dramatic exit to a top European club, still competing in the Champions League. But no top European club came. Bayern Munich had been mentioned. Chelsea, PSG, Atletico Madrid. None of them moved. The wages were too high. The dynamics too complicated. The era of Ronaldo as a player that elite clubs would reshape themselves around was over. He signed for Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia in January 2023 on a contract reportedly worth 200 million euros a year, the most lucrative deal in the history of football. He kept scoring goals. But European football, the theater he had spent his life conquering, had shown him its door. And the same interview that was supposed to be his trump card was the thing that closed it. The son he carried in public. In April 2022, Ronaldo and his partner, Georgina Rodriguez, had twins. One of them died at birth. His name was Angel. Ronaldo announced the loss publicly on Instagram in a statement of extraordinary dignity. He said losing a son was the greatest pain any parent could feel. He thanked the medical staff. He asked for privacy. And then within days, he went back to playing football because the Premier League season was still running and Manchester United were in it. He did not collapse publicly or request extended time away. He played. He scored goals. He continued to do the only thing he has ever known how to respond to pain with. Ronaldo described it later as the worst moment of his life, more painful than losing his father, more painful than any defeat on the pitch. He carried it into everything that came after. The Piers Morgan interview happened 7 months later. The World Cup in Qatar happened 7 months after that. Portugal went out in the quarterfinals against Morocco. Ronaldo was seen crying on the pitch as his team's tournament ended. It is impossible to know exactly what he was crying about in that moment. The football, the World Cup, his father who never saw any of it, his son who never got the chance to see any of it either. All of it at once, probably. A heart surgery at 15, a father he never really knew, a wink that said everything, millions hidden in the Caribbean, an interview that closed every door in Europe, and a son he never got to hold. That is the real story behind the greatest footballer who ever lived. Subscribe for more.